That means the first person attempting the quiz will be automatically creating that table. Anyone attempting the quiz after that, they are just going to enter the data. Right? First person attempting the quiz will create the table and they will enter their record. Any other people attempting the quiz, they will just enter the records in their table. Okay, that has to be done. Marking the quiz at the server and adding validated record to the attempts table. Adapt the quiz you develop in parts 1 to add quiz attempt records to the table. This form should submit the data to a PHP script called markquiz.php. Develop PHP scripts to do appropriate type checking of the form data and mark the quiz responses. And that means you have to do auto marking of the quiz in this PHP file. How many questions are there in the form?
5.
10 or 5?
5.
What was the requirement? Was it 5 or 10?
5.
5, okay. If you have used 10, that's fine, right? That's okay. But the requirement was 5, right? Right. So, the data that you submit from your forms, you have to validate them, but don't do any client-side validation, right? You guys use HTML patterns to do client-side validation, probably in assignment 1. Don't do that in this assignment. You have to use PHP to validate the form data. Okay? In addition to type checking the quiz responses, check the integrity of the data input by the users. All input data should be sanitized. No required fields should be empty. What are the validations you need to do? Student ID should be 7 to 10 digits. First name maximum 30 characters. Can include alphabetical characters, spaces and hyphens. Same thing for last name. Okay? Right, then what should you do? Create a query that gets the number of attempts from a user. If the user already exists in the table and has already had 2 attempts, do not allow them to submit another attempt. How many attempts can one particular user do? How many attempts can one user make in the quiz? 2 attempts maximum. If they try the 3rd attempt, the application should not allow them to do. Provided the user has had less than 2 attempts at the quiz, where a valid quiz attempt has been submitted, check and mark, add a record to the attempts table you have created. And that is not difficult. Once you have finished marking the quiz and you got the user information, store it in the database table. When the table has a valid record added, a web page should be returned from the server that displays the username and ID, the score achieved for this attempt, the number of attempts the user has made during the quiz. If they have only had 1 previous attempt at the quiz, display a hyperlink that allows them to have another attempt at the quiz. So this is the HTML that you should generate after you have added a record into the database table. Right? HTML should be generated and it should be displayed as output. Right? If the quiz submission is not valid, for example, the answer was not completed, the score was 0, the user has had 2 attempts, use PHP to create a web page that displays the reasons for the failure. Right. Right. So do that also. That means you can write 2 conditional statements. If condition, if the record was successfully entered, else condition, if these things happen. Okay? Right. Make sure you do this. Place the no validate equals no validate attribute in your forms. Any that will disable any client-side HTML data checking. Right? Okay. Make sure this is put inside the form tag. Any HTML5 data validations will be disabled. Okay. Then the next part is quiz supervisor queries. There is a guy called quiz supervisor. He should be able to view some data about the quizzes. Create a web page with a link on the menu that allows the supervisor to make the following queries of the attempts table. List all attempts. List all attempts for a particular student. So you can use the student ID or their name to do that. List all students who got 100% on the first attempt. List all students who got less than 50% on their second attempt. Delete all attempts for a particular student. And last one, change the score of a quiz attempt given the student ID and attempt number. So that one only, those features are available for the supervisor. So create a PHP script called manage.php to implement access to the supervisor page and its queries. This one you are calling what? Manage.php. Do you need to implement a login for this? Yes or no? For the supervisor. Do you have to implement a login? At this stage, no. You don't need to implement a login, but under enhancements, you can implement a login for the supervisor. Right? Now, like assignment 1, you get marks for certain enhancements. Enhancements should be done using PHP and MySQL. Okay? What are these example enhancements that you can try? Store quiz questions in a database table and have the HTML dynamically created by PHP. Use this table to also store correct answers so responses can be marked without hard coding. That means what? The questions can be stored on the table. Answers can also be stored on a table. Right? That is going to be a little bit difficult. You can do it, but it will be a bit difficult. At the moment, where do you have the questions and answers? You have them on the web page. Then you have to write if-else conditions to check whether the answer is correct or not. What they are asking you to do is store the questions and answers in the database table. And do that. That's one enhancement you can try. Second one, normalize the structure of the data tables. For example, creating separate student and attempt tables. Create a primary foreign key link between these tables. Now, you only have to create one table in your original application, but you can improve your database design by dividing the table into separate tables where attempts data will be in one table and student data will be in another table. That is another option that you can try. That is what we call normalization. Right? I will talk about that topic starting from next week. Create a table that stores unique user IDs and passwords for quiz supervisors. Access to the supervisor web page should only be granted if a correct username and password are in. Okay, that is what you can create a login for the supervisor page. I showed you guys how to do a basic login today. I will share that script with you. Maybe you can customize it and try to do it. Right? Right? But don't use admin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Username and password. You have to store the usernames and passwords in a separate table. Okay? Right. Provide more secure access to the supervisor page. Have access to the website disabled for a user period of time on say 3 or more invalid login attempts. That means, okay, if there are 3 or more consecutive invalid logins, you can set a time. Maybe for one day that particular guy can't log in. Something like that. Another enhancement. Again, difficult to, this one is pretty difficult to implement, but you can, right? Provide the quiz supervisor with the ability to select the field to sort the order in which the quiz attempt records are displayed. Okay, maybe you can give them an option. According to the highest second attempt marks, display the data. Or according to the highest first attempt records in the ascending order, display the data. Like that. According to the, sort the data according to the lowest, from lowest to highest first attempt scores, like that. One or more enhancements of your own devising. If you plan such enhancements, it would be worthwhile checking with your tutor first to ensure they are appropriate. If you want to do something else as an enhancement, let me know and get my permission. Then you can try that. Okay. But don't try to do something like display the today's date or display today's time on the web page. Right? That kind of things. Those are not enhancements, right? Some people will show a digital clock thing and equal one line of code. You can do that if you won't get many marks. Then during the enhancements page that describes what you have done, I have that. Then this is the directory structure of your assignment 2 folder. Okay. Follow this structure. Now, by now you guys should know what are absolute links and what are relative links. You guys know that, right? Okay. And then already everyone knows that. Right, then important thing, you guys have a report in this one also. good thing is I think marks are equally given to the report and the application. Again, report take a mark boru up there full one lamon care gun. No, you have to write properly. No, equal marks are given. Equal marks are given. What I'm trying to tell you guys is, I understand that if you are not able to complete the application, some of you might only implement some of the features, right? Some of you might not be able to implement all the features. That's okay. You guys are still learning, no? You can't learn PHP in 5 weeks. That is not humanly possible. It took me more than 1 year to learn PHP at university, right? So it's not possible. So, only a very extremely bright person can do that, right? Within 6 weeks. So some features you might, and also using your code, try to explain how you implemented a certain feature. Try to make the report as comprehensive as possible, then you can get some additional marks. Active සමහර features වැඩේ නැති වුණාට ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. report එක හරියට ලියන්න video එක. code snippets දාලා screenshots දාලා nobody total car marks ගන්න පුළුවන්. Right. So the structure of the report is given here. Again, this is individual report. This is not a group report. Right. Website introduction, main functionalities of the site, technical details of site development, highlight the key innovative features of the site, your contribution, describe what you did. So again, I think in this module also there will be a peer review. You guys did a peer review in the earlier one, right? You talked about what other group members did. Here also you have to do something like that. Okay. Like that, complete the report, right? Then you have to create a short video, just like before. Now, at the moment, there is a small issue with your MySQL accounts. You guys saw that you can't log into Swinburne MySQL. If this problem is going to continue, don't worry. We can create separate MySQL accounts. There are a lot of hosting providers that give you MySQL accounts. If there is a worst case scenario, you guys can use those public MySQL accounts. Right? I'll even show you how to get an account. You just need a hosting account, that's it. Then even from your PHP scripts, which are on the Mercury, you can connect to these public MySQL accounts. For now, you can do your work on localhost because you have Apache, you have PHP, you have MySQL in your local machine. So you can start your work now. Later, you can transfer your work to online environment. Okay? Right. Okay, some more instructions are given. Just go through them. How to submit and all those things. Other thing is, now last semester, actually I didn't teach this semester, module last semester, someone else did. There were some problems, group members complaining about their friends because only one person is doing the work. Like that, okay, please sort those issues within the group. Please come to me and say this guy is not working and I can't solve those issues. If you want to talk about those kinds of issues, come and meet me as soon as possible. then I'll try to fix it. Because this is the case. In each group, there will be one person who is good in programming, one or two people. Those guys take the initiative and get other people's help and try to give some work to the other people, right? Help each other out. Even if someone is weak in programming, give them some work, right? Don't let that person be idle, right? At least for the GUI, table creations, documentation, other things like that, you can use them. It's teamwork, right? Help one another and do your work. Don't get into conflict situations. It's not good, right? If you have a serious situation, come and meet me. I'll try to sort it out, right? Right. Then a marking scheme is given at the bottom. Please carefully study the marking scheme and understand for what things you are getting marks. Right. So that is the assignment. Please go through it again and ask me any questions. Right. Right. Then you have a lab today.